I started this podcast when I was about 23 years old. Hard to believe. Darren is a comedian, our friends too. Me and him is doing a podcast at this time. Him and Roastin' and me here. I think we're pretty proud of it. I know I was. Some of the old-time podcasters never even touched on some of this pop culture. I always liked hearing about the old-timers. We never miss a chance to do so. Sergio Leone bringing in such style with the help of Clint. James Mitchum's lifeless plastic face. The Coen Brothers dismantling the precious ideas of the Old West. And Adam Sandler and his comedy buddies thinking an awkward Western parody was a good idea. I don't know what to make of that. I surely don't. The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure. I always knew Adam had to be willing to go to the extreme to even do his job, but I don't want to push all my comedy forward and go out and meet something I don't understand. You can say it's our job to roast and review some pop culture, but we don't even know what it is anymore. More than that, we sometimes just don't want to know. A man would have to put his soul at hazard, but we just have to say, okay, we'll be part of this podcast. Howdy folks, this is The Good Speaking. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Enjoy the gold.
All right.
Alrighty.
What are we talking about this week?
Yeah. So we sat down with a couple westerns this week. One definitely very good, and one definitely very, very bad.
The gap between good and bad this week is far greater than the one last week.
Yep, it definitely
Good
is.
golly. Yes, but this week it was modern westerns. We looked at the modern rendition of the classic genre.
Yeah, the modern neo-westerns, the kind of change into this new idea, this new like realism, new aspect of the western genre.
What do you think? What do you think constitutes a modern western? What are like the requirements?
The requirements. Well, I guess going off of like probably the Coen Brothers way of their whole storytelling aspect and their whole like directorial things that they like to do. Probably more about the realism. More of circumstance and happenings. Maybe a little more like subversion, I guess. That things aren't always
definitely more.
You know what they seem to be or what we perceive them to be.
Yeah, a lot of the classic westerns, especially by like the late '60s, were sort of they're very by the numbers.
Oh,
as
they
we
are.
saw
Yeah,
with Massacre
there's
at the
a
Grand
whole
Canyon.
Yeah, they have a whole beat that they go by. They have the good.
Yeah,
the bad,
I felt like
they
were just
good
checking
versus
boxes. Like the bad guy always gets introduced the same way. The good guy, at this point, there's like a dress code for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's always a standoff at the end. And
Yep.
It's
always about upholding the law. Law versus lawlessness.
And that was challenged a little bit, like we saw last week with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
How we sort of push those ideas where the good guy isn't always like objective good. Like there's a little gray in there.
Yeah, and I think that's what Sergio Leone was kind of going for even more. So I think he's kind of he's the one who kind of like started this whole idea of more realism in the Old West, and I think the Coen Brothers just soar with that. They just take that idea and just go even more into it.
Yeah, they looked at that. They're like, what if this was like the grim fairy tale version of a Western?
Right. Exactly.
All their stuff is so dark.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, gosh, from Fargo, even to like the whole Ballad of Buster Scruggs, they got some gritty aspect of life and reality, for sure.
Yeah, they're just like throwing quadriplegics into rivers over a chicken, and people just getting like murdered in the field.
Yeah, it's
very dark,
it's no
very
joke.
gritty.
It's just the brutality of the West. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. That's also some like the more accurate depictions because I mean obviously those like 60s westerns weren't going to be very realistic as we saw
Yeah.
in those Massacre at the Grand Canyon fight scenes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it does add like sort of that aspect of realism, and these guys do their research on stuff too.
They really do.
Like for like Buster Scruggs, and even what was it like I was telling you with the whoever did the test on like the most accurately depicted psychopaths in movies, and the villain from No Country like was the winner.
Right. Oh yeah, agreed. They they know what they're doing with this one for sure.
So yeah, so modern westerns, much more realistic, much more I don't want to say like chaotic. Like they took the concept of not the Lone Ranger, but sort of like the lone gunslinger, and just sort of like ran with it. And that just sort of like the randomness and the moral grayness of even the good characters, I suppose, as we see in Old Country. Like basically his entire motivation is just greed. In that.
Yeah, and it actually, yeah, and it's this movie was, I guess, based on a novel too by Cormac McCarthy. 2005. So it's kind of, and then I guess this film was made in 2007. So it was like kind of a brand new novel too. So and yeah, I guess he was also like American novelist and a playwright. You know, he definitely attracted the Coen Brothers with their matching style for sure. They definitely saw something in this author that definitely helped out with
You would call it a novel idea.
Yeah. Oh, what's that?
We just lost half our subscribers to that joke.
Aha. Nice.
That was the...
Oh, that was the joke. Wonderful.
I'm here all week. Yeah, we just dedicated a minute to that.
Very, very novel of you to say. But yeah, so I don't know, should we get into I guess yeah, probably spoilers from here on, just because it's hard to not spoil anything with this movie, because we have to go in depth, because it's pretty.
Yeah, this is a deep dive for this one. It really is. And the other one we're reviewing, Ridiculous Six. Honestly, I'm doing you a favor by denying you the need to watch this movie.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. Spoilers.
Yep. Welcome for the warning there, folks. So the movie starts off, you know, with this kind of sunrise, you know, this like dawn of a new like Western age, you know, a new age of ideals with this new generation, as the sheriff Tommy Lee Jones kind of reminisces about his like past father and grandfather services. You know, he's like always comparing himself to the old timers, what they do. And he kind of like mentions like this, it's kind of like a mention of like this evolution of lawlessness, you know, throughout the film. Like he doesn't even know what to make of he doesn't know what to make of this bad guys.
Oh yeah, like the cartels and like the random violence. He's talking about the old days. He was talking about, what is it, like his grandfather didn't even used to carry a gun around.
Exactly. Yeah, didn't even, right, exactly.
So it's very like golden age westerns, sort of. Like he was basically just describing like a stereotype Western hero.
Yeah, exactly.
And how he always compares himself to them.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, in every scene, Tommy Lee Jones is just astounded by like the like new things about, you know, the case and whatnot, and what they're like. This person's using a cattle prod gun. He's like, they don't even know what to make of the wound. You know, they don't even know. Like, it's just this evolution of like just this interesting lawlessness that's happening, and he's living in the past, doesn't understand what he's in right now.
His deputy sort of reminded me of like the way he's portrayed in the film is as like a comic relief character.
Yeah.
But I feel like his deputy was like what the classic Western hero would have been in this situation. Like he's real gung-ho with the heroics and the investigation. He's always on top of it. He's trying to work with other people. Totally. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, that's not going to work.
He's got like a little like Robin aesthetic to him. Robin to
yeah, he does have like the Robin aesthetic. They even ride up on horses to the first crime scene. Like old cowboys, but yes.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's where this villain is kind of introduced. He's kind of this new age of ideas and tactics, you know, and even this I would say even this time period too that this takes place in. I think it's set in the 80s. I forget which year. I think it was like 1980, like right on the dot. And that's actually the decline of Western popularity. So that's kind of cool that this setting is set in a time where Westerns are dying. So it's kind of
it's like a genre.
Yeah, it's this new generation, and now, you know, it's this new society that's kind of stepping away from the old West. Yeah, the popularity of the Westerns are declining at this point. So and that's when the villain is introducing new tactics, new ideas, new technology too, like new equipment. His own like cattle prod weapon. I mean, I've never seen a villain use that weapon before. is kind of
I
interesting
think
and
it really
creative.
plays into like his philosophy well, though, which we could get into the
Oh yeah,
philosophy of
exactly.
Anton
Yeah,
Chigurh.
that there's definitely a meaning behind it for sure. But yeah, like even like his gun modifications, the transponder device, that's something we don't see in the Old West. This is, this is a new era of technology, new. And of course it has like undertones of the previous Wild West. I mean, it's still kind of about like the fortune and
Yeah,
glory by whatever means necessary, and it's it's still human nature at the end of the day, which of course the Coen brothers
movie
really
is
excel at. But
a lot of symbolism in their movies. This movie is like simultaneously a love letter to and like a big dump on the Western
it really
genre
is. Yeah,
as a
it's a
whole.
total slap in the face of what we know. Yeah, and even coming from Good, the Bad, the Ugly, I'm like, I totally got my face slapped during this. I was like, oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
This is not how the West is. This isn't my perceived ideas. But so it definitely goes even further with Sergio Leone's version. Um, and there's also, I mean, I guess they do use some undertones, like we do see like the Western trio stereotype from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, I guess, because it's you're following three main characters. But yeah, it just doesn't use any music too, and it's kind of another example of this change in realism.
oh yeah, soundtracks were like a big part of the westerns back in the day. I mean,
Yeah, and
fucking
this doesn't use it
Eniso
at all.
Morricone, I botched that, but
It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
that Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack, that's like an iconic western trope
Oh,
now.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
this
I
one
mean,
is just
gosh,
like no music, just
everyone tries, like even Red Dead just tries to imitate, the Good, the Bad, the Ugly soundtrack with, Ennio Morricone and whatnot. So
yeah,
it's really
it's
cool.
just like synonymous with the genre is that trumpeting soundtrack,
Yeah.
which the only soundtrack in this one is like the wind
Yeah, the wind,
and
which I guess kind of
dialogue.
adds to that air of desolation too, kind of like what Good, the Bad, and the Ugly did. Just like with their theme
Yeah,
song. Yeah, there's this air of desolation, air of this is a no man's land. It's still a wasteland that we are familiar with, I guess.
it definitely makes it bleaker and adds that realism that they're going for.
Oh yeah, good old realism.
I did notice there were like sort of like you said, there is like the western tropes like the trio where
Mm-hmm.
it's like the sheriff, the outlaw, and like the villain. Or
Totally,
Josh
yeah.
Brolin's character, Llewellyn Moss, is sort of like the outlaw. He does remind me of like the Clint Eastwood character.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and they're even introduced in the same way. Like what the sheriff is always, he always has his white hat on.
Yeah,
Chigurh is
yeah,
always
the whole
dressed in
hat
black.
representation. Yeah, of everyone's alignment. Yeah, oh
Everyone's
for sure.
alignment. Yeah, we see Woody Harrelson's like bounty hunter character. He's got like a gray
Yeah, he's
hat
got the
on.
gray. He doomed himself with that one. with
Yeah,
for sure.
as we get into Chigurh, we'll see why he hates gray hats.
Oh yes, very big on the gray morality,
yeah.
I guess.
He is a man of extremes.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I guess. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess we'll talk more once we get to the villain. But yeah, he almost seems like he's not exactly a typical bad guy. He's a very confusing character, and I guess we can talk more about that once we get there. But yeah, I guess my first impression too with like Brolin's character was, he seemed like he was hunting. You see him in the first scene, he's hunting and whatnot, and there's this limping dog too that he sees when he stumbles across the drug deal gone bad, and I thought it was the villain foreshadow. It seemed like Brolin was going to be the hero, on this trail, this blood trail that kind of like shows the messy nature of Bardim's character, Shukar. He's kind of like an animal.
It is like an all black dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's an animal. But I guess by the end, it was actually a warning to Brolin about death and decay and the decisions that will lead to his, to that.
Yeah, and the sort of like random. And when he found it, he was tracking the trail of like deer blood. It's like an intro just to show him as sort of like a wild man, kind of outside the law. He's out hunting. And he's following the deer tracks, and you see the deer's blood and the dog's blood sort of form like a crossroads.
Oh, right.
That he stops at.
Yeah.
And he makes a choice to follow the black dog's blood instead of the deer's blood.
Ah, right. Yeah.
That leads him to
that's interesting. He kind of chose his own path. He chose and I mean, you even see the dog too later on, and it's totally decayed. It's it's rotted and stuff, and it's like, man, yeah, that was his foreshadow. His demise.
The path he chose.
And I kind of thought too that I mean, going back to like the good, the bad, the ugly, I feel like he's kind of like the ugly in this story. He's kind of the human caught up in the morals between Bardim and Tommy Lee Jones, the sheriff and the villain.
How would you say he like fits the mold of like a stereotype Western character, and like what ways does he break it? I think he's really interesting in this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Yeah, I feel like he might be like an anti-hero type thing where he, you know, so he might be like, he kind of represents a little bit with like the Clint Eastwood, the good, I guess, where he's kind of the anti-hero at the beginning, and then throughout the trilogy he kind of becomes the hero, which it seems like Brolin is going to become that hero, you know, towards the end.
It definitely hyped him up to be.
But it just,
yeah, at the end, I agree. He was sort of an anti-hero, sort of like a Tuco character, like we talked about in the first episode, where like they say he does bad stuff, but he doesn't really seem capable of it. You never see him like threaten anyone or hurt anyone.
Exactly,
Usually just like
seems
bribes
like a normal
people.
dude. He's got a wife, you know. He's got a It's interesting. And then at the end, it just totally just destroys that whole concept. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
well.
it really does. But yeah, he's not a bad dude. First thing he does when it goes to shit is he like tells his wife to go stay with her mother,
Right.
and he like goes on the run.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, he's just kind of caught up. He's caught up in this like whole whirlwind of circumstances, and you know, and just like he followed that trail. You get what you involve yourself. You know, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool, like when he's pulling up on the scene that night or whatever in that like truck with like the headlights on the horizon. It's definitely like kind of like a curious animal. You know, it had like that kind of it was a cool scene. It was like a cool like little image of like this animal, you know, with the headlights like as the eyes, you know, just like, you know, this curiosity going up on this horizon, and you know, it's totally this curious animal that gets led into a trap pretty much. So it's almost like Brolin kind of damned himself when he grabbed the money. And there's that whole scene where he's running and you see even like a lightning strike in the back, and it's totally like the wrath of God, you know. It's just like, you know, he's getting caught up in this crazy decision that he made.
And since he wasn't initially attacked by the cartel for stealing the money, he was attacked by the cartel the first time when he went to bring water back for the dying cartel guy. That was his first encounter with the gunman.
Yeah,
where he knew he was in trouble.
He knew he was,
So what do you think the Coen Brothers would be trying to say about that? Because I think Brolin's character is faring the best when he is being like kind of the new age neo-Western hero, like when we see him.
Yeah.
Because was it Woody Harrelson was surprised that he survived his encounter with Chigurh and has managed to elude him this long. And for most of the movie, we just see him trying to do like clever stuff to avoid him. He like sets traps in the hotel room. He like hides the money, kind of clever. He just tries to like outmaneuver him, trick him and outgun him. Whenever he's trying to do like heroic stuff, bad things happen. He brings the water back to the guy, and he gets ambushed by the cartel.
Oh,
when
totally, yeah.
Chigurh and him are fighting, and he's trying to run away from him, and he gets in the truck with the guy. He could have just like pointed his gun at him and said drive, and the guy would have started driving, but instead he like tried to calm him down. He tried to offer him a little money, and while they were sitting there, the guy got shot in the neck by Chigurh.
That's right. Yeah.
And then when he comes back for his white hat hero showdown with Chigurh to save his wife, then you know how that goes.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, he totally loses that hat, that purity hat, you know, the white hat.
The purity, the chastity hat.
Now he's caught up in it all. And yeah, there's an interesting portion too, like right at the end too, where he goes to that hospital. He kind of has like a repentance moment at the hospital. He gives up the money. You know, he's actually like all in white. You know, he's in the white medical clothes, and you know, maybe it's you know, kind of like a baptism symbolism. You know, like he even gains his white hat back right at the end, and then only to be dragged right back into it.
Does,
and I think it just drops the whole moral redemption stereotype. It's like just nature is nature, and it doesn't matter what's good and evil, you know, just our perceptions of good and evil. It's just nature, you know.
And I did have written down like how hats are important in this movie, about when he loses his hat. So he had his white hat on that he had at the beginning of the film up until he lost it when he got ambushed by the cartel guys. Going back to the scene of the botched trade to give that guy water. When he like stumbles around and starts running away, his hat falls off.
Yeah.
And then I don't think he has another one until he gets it back at the hospital.
Yeah, at the hospital. That moment, sort of it's kind of his his redemption, but it just doesn't have a payoff.
just the reality of the situation. When he tries to be the good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that whole realism, just the Coen Brothers just slapping you in the face of our perceived, you know, stereotypes again, as they do throughout the entire movie.
Some dark opinions on human nature.
For sure. Which I guess we can go into the bad guy's character too, Bardem. He did such a great job, such a good actor too.
Didn't he win an Oscar for this, like best actor?
Oh, did he? Oh, I hope he did.
I hope he did.
Yeah.
My man earned it.
He really did.
Yeah, he was a terrifying villain in this movie.
Gosh,
Bardem.
yeah, probably the scariest human being I think I've seen in cinema for sure.
But yeah, same question. How do you think he fits and breaks the mold of like your Western bad guy in
Yeah,
this film?
I mean, throughout the movie, you think he's, or at least towards the beginning, you think he's bad. He's definitely the persona of bad, I guess. Versus the sheriff. The sheriff is on his trail as well. He's kind of a confusing character because he's actually just nature, really. In a sense, he's just a new challenge to our perceived, ideas and whatnot. So it's like it's very weird. He's a very weird character. I don't know. What do you think?
It's certainly how he perceives himself. I think he's like he sees himself as like sort of the personification of like fate or
Mm-hmm.
death.
Oh, definitely.
And that's why he always is like he questions other people's morals right before they kill him, and he challenges a lot of people with the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Sort of like especially with the coin toss. And I think
Right.
he treats like every interaction with a person as like a coin toss.
Oh, for sure.
So he really is just sort of like the Coen Brothers personification of sort of like that random violence and fate and
Yeah.
this sort of like animalistic nature of people. And that like if you're clever, or at least if you it showed throughout the film that like the more clever people are, like how Llewellyn Moss, Josh Brolin's character, is able to outmaneuver him when he's really
Yeah.
thinking about it. But yeah, when he's even talking on the phone with Moss about, he's like, you know where I'm going, and he has to make a choice to like flip a coin if he goes to face him, square up for that cowboy showdown, or if he's going to avoid it and drag out his life a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and he does that with everyone. He did it with the guy in the gas station.
Yeah, the gas station, which is probably one of the best scenes ever. I would say like that.
Yeah,
that was such a tenseful moment, and it was good. I mean, even like the nooses in the background too of the cashier. It's just like you're ensnared, man. You're in the trap.
This guy was playing chess with death
Really was.
in that moment there.
He's been putting it up his whole life.
You've been putting it up your whole life.
Pretty but yeah, his whole like fate and destiny and whatnot. I mean, he kind of believes in a way of like some like totally about this idea of fate, and even with this coin, it came all the way from 1958 just to get here, and it's kind of like what he's like. What are you doing with your life? What do you believe in, or are you just cattle, following the current?
Yeah, and that really explains the cattle gun, both as like some new age weapon, also sort of how he sees people.
Yeah.
Because that guy that he murders out of the police car, who he just walks up to him and he's like, "Get out of the car, stand still," and then he basically just murdered him like cattle.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, this the Wild West is filled with like dropping of morals and codes, so he's definitely in a hot spot, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even Brolin kind of damned himself too to this force of nature, dropping his own codes and just taking the cash.
Yeah. What do you think was the action that damned him? Was it taking the cash, or was it trying to be the hero at the end?
I think I don't know. I think really just neither, because it's just reality. It doesn't matter what you do or what decisions you make. There is this force, this fate of man, and this animalistic nature that just will overwhelm you at the end, and it doesn't matter at that point what.
So Moss gets a reality check, and so does Shiger at the end of the movie. After
his own thing comes back to bite him. His own ideas, of this whole fate, and totally
he gets
comes back to bite him too.
By fate.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, and it's interesting that he has this perceived righteousness. I mean, he's got he definitely never steps on any blood. He's like trying to keep himself clean. Like, I am right.
Yeah, he just kind of like
this blood is not on my hands; it's on their hands.
Everybody.
I'm just giving them their due almost. It's like he totally thinks he's above it. He's transcendent with all that.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's why he keeps his shoes clean. It's just sort of he sees their blood is on their own hands, not on his. He's like, so he really does kind of see himself as fate, which I think is how he kind of breaks the mold of like the stereotype Western villain. Because in the last one, Wichita Angel Eyes, in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he was a little sadistic, wasn't he? He kind of reveled in his bad guyness.
Oh, definitely.
So you said he like tortured Tuco, and he just kill shit for fun.
And him, he's just doing it just for his own selfish thing. But this character Bardim he's doing it because he thinks it's right, and because he is that force of nature, I guess. It's interesting. Yeah, definitely breaks that bad guy motives. Bad guy types.
And he doesn't really revel in the kill with anyone. He's very efficient.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He's very clean, very methodical, very intelligent, and he's just very very concise and clear, and it's just definitive, which I mean, I guess that's kind of what fate is. It's a definitive aspect of life, and that's just kind of how he is too. He's just
That reminds me of how you were talking about in the last episode with the good and the bad and the ugly, of how the man with no name and Angel Eyes were they were also sort of like the personifications, I guess, the embodiments of like those Western ideals of like the good and the bad, just as Moss and Shigur are in this one. Only in this one, they both get vibe checked. They never have that.
Yeah, they both do.
That fateful standoff. Moss dies to like random cartel violence, and Shigur almost dies. He gets a little humbled by just randomly getting hit by a car.
Yeah, by a random car crash. Yep.
So yeah, just like the random violence that happens to people. He's just reminded that he too is just a person who fate can impose its will on at any time as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and talk about Tommy Lee Jones too. This guy's a wonderful actor, really good too. And yeah, going back to that typical good guy, guardian angel, purity character. He's definitely that personification of that. But he's kind of he's getting vibe checked too. I mean, he's disgusted and confused with every new discovery of the case. His generation doesn't even it's changing into something that he doesn't even understand. And it sucked at the end too, because I was like, when he's like crossing the yellow tape, he's entering that lion's den to serve justice. You think there'll be like this epic good versus evil showdown that we saw with like Brolin's character and Shukar. But that's it. Just no, he kind of got away from that. It's like it's just nature. You just dealt the hand you get, and it kind of made me upset. I was like, oh man, I was like really hoping Tommy Lee Jones would go in and get this conclude this case once and for all.
It did sort of affirm him as like kind of the would-be hero of the story, since as Shigur says, like, you've been putting it up your whole life. He did put it up when he got there because he was hesitant to open the door. He thought he saw Shigur in there. So, but he called it and he went in, and fate was on his side. He survived.
Yeah.
And then he quits his job and falls into a deep depression. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
I feel like his character and Josh Brolin's character, Llewellyn Moss, their archetypes sort of switched. Like you were saying, how Moss is sort of like the morally ambivalent Tuco in the film. I feel like that kind of becomes Tommy Lee Jones by the end, the sheriff, as he's just sort of like the audience perspective into this new world, as he's like just dragged along for the ride, and he's trying to make something out of it. He's like the classic Western fan watching this movie and being like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, he really is. No, yeah, exactly.
He's the boomer trying to enjoy this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny too, you had that like boomer talking about like this town ain't what it used to be. It's like, it's probably what a lot of the, people that grew up. I mean, even I was even thinking about like John Wayne, just like
he's literally John Wayne.
This isn't this isn't the West. This isn't what I've this isn't my life's work.
Wait a minute.
I won't shoot a man in the back. This ain't this. He was totally against realism, and I definitely think that was definitely what whatever that old dude talking to the sheriff, just like, just this town ain't what it used to be. But it really, this is kind of how it has always been. It's just kind of a reality on that. It's like,
it's kind of revealed in the conversation between the sheriff and his cousin when they talk about it. What was the example he gave about like their grandfather or something, and how he died? And he was like some big, Western hero, sort of like the John Wayne
shot in the lawn
of his
or
time.
Something.
And he just got like shot on his porch by a Native American. He died like Mike from Desperate Housewives did, and just like some random drive-by on his porch.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's similar to how Llewellyn Moss died, just like some random drive-by violence from some people who didn't like him right before he could do
just some random gang, right? That just
it's just the gang looking for the money before any big cowboy heroic showdown could happen. He's just killed unceremoniously. He wasn't even killed on screen. We see a girl flirting with him, and he's being a good white hat wearing cowboy, and he's like, no thank you, ma'am.
We didn't even get a good send-off for him, and man, I love too when he's just the TV reflection scene of just staring at himself through a lens, and I think you pointed out too a shadow over the TV screen, like he's kind of living in his own shadow.
Oh, and they're
the
both
perception he has.
The scenes of the sheriff as well as Shigur searching Josh Brolin's house, the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that scene.
Yes.
with
They
the
both
milk
sit down. And they start
jug or
drinking his milk like they're Homelander or something.
Yeah, yeah. They really do, yeah. Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, he's kind of, he's definitely living in that shadow of his. He's following these ideals that he's known his life and known through, his previous generations, and it even leads to the end when he dreams about his own father carrying the torch or whatever, like they're on that mountain pass. I think that was his dream.
That his dad's
his father
waiting
is
for him.
going to light, camp, or whatever, and it's kind of like the passing of the torch, but then he woke up, because that's just not how it is. This dream that these people have had, in the past generations, just it's only a dream, really. It's not what nature
actually happens.
Right. Yeah. So that was pretty depressing. Yeah.
Yeah. Coen Brothers out here.
The movie ends of "Then I woke up." That whole.
And then I woke up. Yeah.
Line.
Coen Brothers telling you to get woke about westerns.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so very, very, like a very existential and like midlife crisis type things,
It is, yeah. This is just Tommy Lee Jones.
So yeah, definitely slapped me in the
simulator.
face, because I love my good versus evil Star Wars, things, but it's like, at the end of the day, does it really come down to that, or does nature just take its course no matter what,
It is nicer to think that at the end of the day, the good guys can always win, and pull it out, or that at least the fate of everything comes down to a battle between good and evil.
That's true.
And that we're all not just random
that is true.
animals.
Yeah, I guess that's a little more hopeful for sure. But
because I feel like it would have been even less depressing if Brolin had faced Bardem's character and lost, because then at least he had the chance to see the face off and see that the good is able to stand up to the evil. But now he just dies in a shitty motel.
Would have been a little more positive, I guess, but it's the Coen Brothers. They don't.
It is the Coen Brothers. Quite depressing, and I liked the ending. I liked it a lot. I think it fit the themes of the movie very well. It was
very well done. And I think it was great watching it back to back, from like the good, the bad, and then just getting kind of a wake up call from this movie too. It was really actually really cool. I was like, oh wow, I've never gone this in depth with westerns before. But yeah. Any other conclusions?
Any other insights about No Country for Old Men? How do you think it ended? Do you think he killed Moss's wife, and he shows up to her house, and he says the best he could do for her is let her flip the coin, but she doesn't want to play? How do you think he responds to that?
Well, yeah, that was interesting, because I thought he would actually, I thought she'd actually get away with it, because she was kind of strong in her response too, of like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not gonna give in to this whatever, sadistic thing you're up to. I'm just not going to do it. So I thought that was like, she was really standing up, but I think the thing what kind of doomed her is she's kind of standing up to his idea of fates and the nature of things.
Yeah, she's denying fate itself, because
she's like denying his idea. She's kind of like really pointing her finger at him, and he's just like, no, that's not how it goes. He's so dead set in his ways, and I think that just kind of doomed her.
Yeah, I don't think he really sees himself as someone you can say no to. Though he didn't kill the woman who was running the trailer park that Moss lived in. She's like, I'm not at liberty to give out no information.
Right.
And he just leaves. So I suppose her code, in which he won't give out other people's private information, he respected that, as compared to the guy who just gets out of the car and stands still when he tells him to, who will cattle prod in the head.
Yeah, and the grocery clerk, he didn't have too much of a definitive stance either, so I think that's why the Bardem was a little like, okay, I'm just gonna leave this up to fate, because I mean, you're still going through your monotonous ways of with your family's grocery store. You're just like, you're just you're kind of going with the flow still. You're not really doing what you stand for, I guess. I don't know.
Are you talking about the guy at the gas station who he made flip the coin?
Yeah, the gas station.
Oh, yeah. I think, well, if they fight with him a little bit about it, he offers up, like, the coin toss, and that guy did win. So I think that guy was spared. What do you think became the fate of the accountant of the American drug runners?
Oh,
who was like, are you going to kill me?
Goodness, yeah. I think there's I think the drug, the drug boss or drug lord or whatever. Yeah, I think he thought he was untouchable. He was invincible to nature. He's like, no one can kill me. I have all this power. But then Bardem's like, no, that's not how that works either.
That's not how that works. Yeah, he messes him up.
It's like, it'll catch up to you. Don't you worry.
The accountant was also spared.
Right. The accountant. Yeah, that was interesting. I'm not really sure why he spared him too, because it seems like the accountant is also kind of cattle as well to the drug lord too, but
well, he got to the point pretty quickly because Shiger was asking him some questions, and he, instead of answering on behalf of the cartel leader after a certain amount of time, he's just like, "Are you gonna kill me or not?" So,
interesting.
So he got to the point pretty quick. I think he had his priorities in check. Like, I want to be alive, and I'm not going to answer your questions if you're just going to kill me anyway.
Interesting, yeah.
That's sort of the vibe that I got. So I think, at the very least, accountant guy got a coin toss.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe survive the coin toss for sure.
He might have.
Well, and I guess too. I guess too. Thinking about it too, the wife too. You'd think that. I guess she got the coin toss too, or no, she didn't. She didn't go. She was offered the coin toss.
She didn't want to play.
But also, I think he also had like this obligation too. Like he did make a promise to Brolin's character too that he'd exact his methods on his wife and stuff. Yeah. So she couldn't get out of it either way, I don't think.
Sorry to say, I think she might have been iced, especially since it established in advance, like you said, that he always keeps his shoes clean of blood. And when he walks out of the house, he checks his shoes.
Yeah. Oh man, when that happened, when I saw him lifting up his boot, I was like, oh, oof. I really thought she got out of it when he was walking out. I was like, oh, okay. She stood her ground, and then,
Yep. Nope.
Lifts up his boot. I'm like, oh man.
Check the shoes. Yeah. So I think she got the ice. So that brings the count of people who Anton Chigurh looked at in this movie and survived to Llewellyn Moss, the lady from a Pixar movie at his trailer park.
Yeah, sure.
50-50 on the accountant.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, the 50-50 thing, I guess. Yeah.
The only person we've kind of seen him, I guess, revel in the kill in is Woody Harrelson's character as the bounty hunter.
Oh, right.
And why do you think he would do
that? Hat. Oh, what's up?
Why do you think he would sort of drag out that kill instead? Because everyone else, like cartel guys, Moss even, when they see each other in person, he just starts shooting. He doesn't really ask questions. He's just like this silent predator.
That's true.
But for Woody Harrelson, he's like, let's go to your room. And they have a little conversation. Woody Harrelson begs for his life. He definitely doesn't get the coin toss offered to him. He just sort of waits for him to flinch and then shoots him.
And then he eventually, that's interesting. I'm not sure. Maybe Bardem, Shikar is trying to get some type of, I don't know, maybe some definitive moral out of him too. As a bounty hunter, you're also just kind of going to the highest bidder. You're kind of being told who to kill. Getting paid the money. You're not really following your own morals there. So maybe he's trying to drag out, see if he might have a definitive stance, and then once he's confirmed that, you're just a bounty hunter, you're just a cattle to the drug overlords. I guess that's just when he also dooms himself too. I don't know.
I think because every scene we see Woody Harrelson is sort of him establishing himself as the morally ambiguous character. He has a conversation with the cartel lord, and that guy's like talking to him about like he's really smart and he's good at numbers or something. So we know he's a smart guy. In his talk with Brolin, he says they both talk about how they were in Nam. So he's like, he's served his country, but he's also, he's like a bounty hunter for a drug cartel.
Yeah.
As well. So he's very morally ambiguous. I think the scene with them together is like Bardem's character just sort of like making him see that and why that is the reason he's going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sort of like staring at him.
Yeah, maybe he's kind of laying it out for him a little bit in that scene.
Yeah, just waiting for him to accept it, that despite all his smarts, he's still just nothing more than an animal, essentially. It's like cattle, just acting on a whim. What was it he told him? He's like, if the rule you followed brought you here, to what use was the rule?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. So, like, his rule of just working for the highest bidder brought him to the gunpoint of Chigurh.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, once I saw Woody Harrelson enter with a gray hat, I was like, oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
That's not good.
Hats. Predict everyone's fates by the hats they wear. I'm going to have to start doing that in real life. Any other revelations about this? Yeah, this is a real good one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's very, very eye-opening, I guess, to what we think and perceive with a lot of our media, and it's interesting.
Yeah, crazy philosophy
Definitely
behind
recommend
that one.
It's a very, very good movie, very well done.
Yeah, very well done. How do you like sort of the filmmaking style of the Coen Brothers? I like it a lot. I think they assume a lot of the audience in how they sort of interpret the visual language of filmmaking, and like how they like what's not shown on screen is as important as what is.
Exactly, yeah. And they don't spell it out for audiences too. They don't act like we're dumb, even though I know a lot of audiences are kind of dumb. But
Yes.
but
Yeah.
it's just like it
People
kind of
watching
it
this.
assumes that we know what we're following, and you're right. It kind of shows what's on screen, what's the most important, and then we can deduce from there, kind of thing. So yeah, really good storytelling that way. Not giving us everything, not showing us everything, but we get the gist. We're not entirely stupid. But yeah, so I really do like that. And I mean, it is really realistic. It's not really a movie I'm totally into, I would say. Just because I do like my epic themes, I do like style. This is more. It kind of seems more like I don't want to say like documentary. That's not really quite the word for it, but it just
It's
seems
definitely
a
like a
little more
subtle
realistic.
style.
Yeah, it's very subtle. Yeah, which does work for a lot of people too.
But I'd say it's pretty stylized to the point of theme. It's not like what was that movie with Henry Cavill, The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? That's like a very
Oh,
stylized movie about like
right,
60
yeah,
spy films, and it just sort of like basically the whole movie is just the editor flexing on everybody.
yeah,
We're like,
totally.
yeah, just sort of like the director of photography gets to have a lot of fun with that one. This one, it's very focused on theme, from like the costume design to like the framing of everything. So it's more
Yeah, it
subtle,
really is.
but I think it's all
Yeah,
it is
and
very
it's more
artistic.
about the characters, more about it's not really like it's not this elaborate things that we see with like sci-fi and like all these other like genres of movies. It's definitely very self-contained.
Yeah, it is a
Good
dissection of
stuff.
the Western genre. They have some Western tropes that they basically just use to establish what they're going to shit on throughout the movie, and
Yeah,
then they sort of go their own way with it.
really do. Yeah, they really do. And yeah, I guess I'd suggest for people that are watching too to like definitely like pull out some old spaghetti westerns for sure, and kind of watch that before you get into No Country, because it's kind of eye opening. It's kind of interesting, this this whole going in a more of a direction that like even Sergio Leone was. It's kind of like diverting from the perceived types and stereotypes and whatnot, and it's really cool. It's really fascinating seeing the evolution over time for these movies. So I definitely, if you're watching this, definitely pull out the good, the bad, the ugly at least, and then watch this movie. You'll see a very vast difference, but also kind of I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, they definitely know their westerns, and they pick them apart meticulously. Just every theme and trope and character archetype
Yeah.
that's in there, which is a good thing. Which I think is a good segue. I think it's a good segue into our other Western dissection film of this episode.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
The masterfully crafted, the expertly edited, the subtly themed, totally not racist at all. The
Yep.
Ridiculous Six.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
What a movie.
ridiculous. What a movie.
I don't even want to talk about this really.
There's not much to say about this movie. In fact, let me
There
pull up
really
my
isn't.
notes on the film here. I have a total of
Oh.
3 lines as well as a tally. I have I have the first thing that sort of cued me into the fact that everybody in this film is canceled. Was I wrote down Polka Hot Tits
Yeah.
was what one of the
It's so
characters were
bad.
referred to as. The second line is this racist question mark? And then the third line is yes.
Wow. Just wow.
Yeah, we also have the donkey shit joke tally, of which how many times this movie made a joke related to one of the characters' burrows defecating, and I'm up to 6, and that's not
6.
including non-donkey related shit jokes, of which there are
Which
even
kind of
more.
fits the theme, right? Ridiculous 6. You got 6 donkey shit jokes.
Is donkey shit? Is the ridiculous 6? Yeah. So what were your first impressions of the ridiculous 6?
Well, my impression was like, wow, Adam Sandler and his and the comedians of Hollywood really thought this was a good idea. There's so many like appearances by like all these. I mean, gosh, you had like David Spade, show up. You had, I guess, Vanilla Ice was in there for some reason. Mark Twain. Yeah, I was just like, wow, this is another. The main crawl comes up and it's Happy Madison. I'm like, oh, what could go wrong? You got Happy Madison's great films. Adam Sandler's pretty funny. He's good. And then all of a sudden, I just see, just yeah, Even those first three lines that you mentioned, I'm like, oh my god, this is happening. This is a thing.
Okay, yeah. So The Ridiculous Six, produced by Adam Sandler, written by Adam Sandler, and I assume people who just say yes to Adam Sandler, starring Adam
Yep.
Sandler, and directed by Frank Caracci. Frank Carassi? Whatever. He looks like a Pawn Stars character. His his other movies include basically every Adam Sandler movie since 1998. We got The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, Click.
Yeah.
Oh God, Blended. That's a movie. And that Kevin James one where he becomes an MMA boxer. That's yeah. His TV show repertoire includes Chow Masters, and yeah, his profile picture is a fedora. So I think we know where this is going in regards to feminism. This yeah, this guy. This movie looks like it was written by 4chan and directed by 4chan.
It really was.
So yeah, this movie, it has a big cast. There are a lot of stars in this movie, and namely Adam Sandler, but we got like Taylor Lautner for some reason. Shark Boy's in this, and then the usual Adam Sandler cast: Rob Schneider, David Spade, Terry Crews. I'm surprised Shaquille O'Neal isn't in this movie. The person I was most surprised was in this movie was Blake Shelton and Vanilla Ice.
Oh my god, that was that was a really surprise cameo. That was interesting. Wyatt Earp and Mark Twain, two notable American figures played by Vanilla Ice, and yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, masterful film. So I don't even know where to start with this movie. This is not a good movie. This movie is also, I don't even want to call it a modern Western. I don't even want to call it a movie, but it is. It too, I think, sort of attempted to take a comedic route to dissecting the Western genre and just sort of like breaking down the general tropes for like comedic effect.
Making fun of it. Yeah.
So this was like a Western comedy, which I wouldn't mind a Western comedy. I haven't seen a comedy about the Western genre that was good though. The only two I can think of are like this one and A Million Ways to Die in the West by Seth MacFarlane, which was equally as bad just because of like
this also gave me like Blazing Saddle vibes too.
Oh yeah, Blazing Saddle. Blazing Saddles was a good one.
Yeah,
I like Blazing Saddles, but unfortunately, we're not here to talk about Blazing Saddles today.
Yeah, unfortunately,
we're here to suffer. Suffer we did when we watched this movie. Since the very first shot of the movie was Adam Sandler's like 50-year-old ass dressed as like a Native American hunter as he goes in. His name in this movie is White Knife, which I guess is a joke because he's white.
Right.
But there are a number of other. Like Julia Jones is in this. She's a member of the Native American tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's pretty famous. They did get an actual Native American person, Saginaw Grant. Oh God, I hope I didn't botch that.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's like a motivational speaker and like a Native American character actor. But like I feel, and he's old. He's like old as shit. He was born. He's like 80-something years old, and they basically just use him for laughs as well. And, just like Native American guy says something whitish in English, and then that's supposed to be the laugh, and that's like his entire character.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So the first thing we see Adam Sandler do is he goes to buy some flour from Steve Zahn, another character actor who's often in Adam Sandler movies. He's like this racist old white guy, and he's like, "No, I'm white." And then like a band rocks up, and this is where the trope where like and this does kind of play on like sort of the Magnificent Seven?
Oh right.
Is that the movie this was based off of? Yeah, like that one where it's sort of like, oh, the Native American guy is really good at fighting and mystic shit. They make that joke so much in this movie.
They do.
They literally say it out loud.
Shit.
Every mystical
other
shit.
line.
Every time Adam Sandler's white ass does something, that was some mystical shit. And that's, every character in this movie is basically like the stereotype of what that character would be, in like a classic Western to like a gross point. So we got Taylor Lautner as the dumbass, and he is, he's dumb in this
thing.
Yeah, the like backwoods dumb shit, and all his jokes are just like he doesn't know what sex is, and that's it. He wants to.
That's pretty much it.
All the characters in this movie, the Ridiculous Six gang, they're all brothers to this outlaw, and they all want to meet him for different reasons. Adam Sandler's character wants to see him again so he could be like the good guy and save him. But Taylor Lautner only wants to meet his dad so he can give him the talk. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So he give him the sex talk. Rob Schneider, another common Adam Sandler actor, plays Ramon Lopez, the most stereotyped Mexican dude you can think of. Literally, his quote for wanting to meet his dad is so that they can find the taco tree together.
You can find the taco tree, yep.
They can find the taco tree
Yikes.
together. That's great, yeah. So Luke Wilson, the guy from My Name is Earl, he's like the stereotype depressed Civil War soldier, which I thought he would have been the most interesting person. And this was maybe the funniest concept in the movie to me, that his depression is because he let Abraham Lincoln die.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Fun historical fact: Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard actually fatally wounded John Wilkes Booth as they fought a little bit before his death. Yeah, it wasn't a clean kill. He kind of wrestled with him a bit, and yeah. So John Wilkes Booth was basically like bleeding out the entire week he was on the run before he died in a shootout in a farm.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, I guess if I was that guy and I fucking some Hollywood celebrity managed to overpower me and kill the president, I'd probably be like an alcoholic too. If my choke was responsible for the death of Abraham Lincoln, he was probably the most realistic character.
He really was, yeah, most interesting.
And that was, yeah.
And then you had Curly from Lost.
Curly from Lost.
It's like, oh my gosh, he's still working. What?
He's like the wild man.
Racist Adam Sandler.
Racist Adam Sandler. Man, he comes back for this
never
one
working
movie
again.
just to be canceled after this.
Yeah.
Your comeback film. You picked the wrong one, buddy.
You really did.
Yeah, there's that. And I don't even know who else is in the 6. Terry Crews. Terry Crews is in it.
Oh yeah, Terry Crews.
He's Adam Sandler's brother. All these guys I've described so far are brothers. So Terry Crews is one of their brothers. And like his big joke in the film is that he doesn't want anyone to know that he's half black. And it's just like Terry Crews' chocolate self walking around. He's like, hey, you guys are the only ones I've told this, but I'm half black. And that's like the brunt of his joke. And he spends the rest of the movie playing the piano with his dick. And that's not even like an exaggeration. At the end of the movie at Adam Sandler's wedding, you literally see the piano being played.
The piano's playing, his arms are like
up and he's just like
chest.
Helicopter and that's
he's just
that's about the caliber of comedy you can expect from this movie. Yeah. If you didn't gather that by the
and it's a huge I guess I described this movie as one big dad joke, like one big racist dad joke.
One big racist joke. This movie is that kid from your high school who was just always on Reddit and wore the same hoodie every day and said that they had dark humor, but then would just be blatantly racist. That's what this movie is. This movie's that kid from high school.
It really is, yeah. And the thing is too, they recycle the same joke. Like this one dude like gets like beheaded and like starts just shooting, like just his headless corpse just like starts shooting randomly. And they keep referencing that the entire movie. And it was a funny sequence, but if they would have just shut up about it afterwards, it would have, I don't know. It's just like, wow.
That's like, that's what ruins. Funny. What few good jokes are in this movie are ruined because they know they're the few good jokes and they get really overplayed. They so I'd say that,
referenced
like Luke Wilson's alcoholism. And like you said, when Harvey Keitel's character, he used to run with their dad's gang. His name's Smiley. And fucking Rob Schneider beheads him with a shovel, and his body's just like shooting around like this, and his head's still smiling. And it's just like one of those like really jarring, absurdist humor things.
Yeah, jarring, shocking, kind of funny.
For like 20 seconds, that was funny, and then it went on for like another 40 seconds, and then they brought it up again
and then
2
Curly
times.
From Lost reenacted it immediately after it happened.
Immediately after, and then he did it again in like 2 scenes later.
Oh yeah, yep. That's that movie. Recycled jokes, recycled dad jokes,
recycled jokes, and racism. So if you're into that, then 10 out of 10 for the Ridiculous 6.
10 out of 10. And it does have Nick Nolte in it, which was kind of surprising because I think he's been in quite a few westerns too. So it's like they kind of got a well-known actor for it, for this type of genre, Nick Nolte.
Yeah, Danny Trejo's also in it. He does a lot.
I don't think Disney must not know about this movie.
Disney must not know
about
The
Mandalorian.
This, yeah. That's why they killed him in The Mandalorian. This is someone at Disney watched this movie and they're like, guys, we gotta cut the arc.
Really bad movie. I would say definitely skip this if you see it on Netflix.
Yeah, skip
Don't
this
even
one.
pay attention to it.
It's you could tell it's just like the celebrity cast having fun. Like Blake Shelton is in this movie. My personal favorite was Vanilla Ice, is Mark Twain. He was probably my favorite character in the film.
It was pretty funny.
I just called this a film.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah, that's
yeah, not much to
that's all I
say.
can
What
think of.
what was your favorite part and your least favorite part about The Ridiculous Six?
Least favorite or favorite part? You know, I don't know. I always kind of, whenever I see this film, I always, I mean, it does put a bad taste because they keep referencing it every time. But I guess the beheading of the saloon owner was quite interesting. And every time I think back to this movie, I just think of that. But then they ruin the joke later. So it's kind of a funny little shocking bit. But and I guess my least favorite was, oh gosh, I don't even know, the entire movie. Maybe I don't
The entire movie.
I don't even know. It's just all so bad. They're all like equally. It's just all equally just not good. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's not good. I think Adam Sandler can do absurdist humor. I think his older works are much better at it.
I love his other work. I do. I love a bunch of his movies. It's
yeah,
just,
like what's the one
really,
where he's like a child
like,
star and he has to go back to school?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, like that, where he's just like a 30-year-old man in a 5th grade classroom being a shithead.
Yeah.
Like that's funny. In Happy Gilmore, where he like wrestles the alligator to get the ball back. And who is it?
And I think actually one of my favorite movies is The Wedding Singer from him too. It's a little more serious than like other ones. But I thought that was great. It was a fun little like 80s nostalgia film.
Yeah, stuff like that. So like the absurdist humor, like he can do. I think when he gets a little too absurd with it, he just doesn't know really when to stop like that.
Yeah.
You either need to get really weird with it or like make it a little more subtle. Like SpongeBob just goes all out with the absurdist humor. Like it's just insanity. And that's funny.
Yeah.
Like the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, or what was the one where like him and Plankton like travel through time and it's just weird. There's like a dolphin.
Yeah, it's like a sponge out of water or whatever.
Yeah, like that's like absurdist humor that kind of works.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like that weird. When it's like
I agree with that too.
Terry Crews playing the piano with his dick while people gouge their eyes out to join a gang, but they don't actually. It was all for the gag that everyone saw coming.
Just, I don't know. Yeah. It's just not the best execution on that, but
it's, would you call it?
I would recommend whoever's listening to this, just go watch like Happy Gilmore, or, or whatever.
Just go watch
skip this film. Just go watch The Wedding Singer instead.
Yeah.
Don't get this bad taste of Adam Sandler.
We're probably gonna be. Yeah. Would you describe this as Adam Sandler's worst movie?
Oh, his worst movie?
Would you? Oh, how would you put this on like the Adam Sandler bad movie list?
Oh, this is probably at the bottom of the barrel. Adam Sandler movies, I would say.
This is bottom.
This is the bottom barrel for sure.
This is
where
a
you
rough
have to
one.
Scrape to get it off. Go see Uncut Gems instead.
Just go see Uncut Gems, and I'll Photoshop a cowboy hat on Adam Sandler from Uncut Gems, and you could just watch that and pretend that that's your Adam Sandler Western. That could be your fix.
Yeah.
That's the fit, yeah. Regarding Western themes, who would you say dissected them better, this film or No Country? And what Western tropes did The Ridiculous Six seek to tackle here?
Can you repeat the question again?
What sort of like Western tropes did this movie acknowledge or try and dissect in a similar way?
Maybe it's
No Country.
It's also in a similar way with No Country for Old Men. I really don't want to compare these two, but in a way, it's just like I understand that they're trying to say how like absurd some of these Western tropes are. They're trying to kind of make fun of the pacing and the whole stereotypes of it. So I see what they're trying to do with it. But No Country for Old Men does it in just a way more subtle, realistic way than this will ever. I mean, this is just like a parody type situation, which a lot of Adam Sandler
and that's
films
a good description.
kind of are. But
this is more of a parody of Westerns as opposed to No Country, sort of like love letter / dissection.
Right.
There's a parody. Blake Shelton's character is like he's the fastest gun in the West.
Right.
his gun is comically large, and he shoots everything that moves.
Right.
Like, oh, he's the fastest hand in the West. That like cuckoo clock goes off and he blows it up
Yeah.
with his big ass gun.
Right.
And I kind of like, if it was a parody, that would be like, that's as far as I like.
Yeah.
That that's the point of the parody that I enjoyed, was like Blake Shelton's sort of interpretation
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
And again, what's his name? Luke Wilson's sort of, yeah, like their parody version of like the actual Western characters, like the Civil War veteran
Right.
and the fastest hand in the West. Like those ones are kind of funny.
It's interesting.
And the really absurdist ones, like Vanilla Ice is Mark Twain.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
is,
Like that was kind of funny.
Satire.
I won't
Like
lie,
that,
that was pretty funny.
yeah, those concepts are very funny. Adam Sandler's white ass as a dude named White Knife who
that misses the
stands
mark
up to people and
little
sticks
bit.
them into the wall. That, not so much. Taylor Lautner asking what a coochie is every 5 minutes, meh, not so much.
And actually, I will say, like the what is it, when he was like swinging because his neck's so like tough and he's like swinging on the noose. I thought that was kind of funny. I thought, okay, that was...
Oh, he's like, I have a yeah. I think that suffers the same fate as the beheading
right.
bit.
Yeah, it just
where
keeps
it's like
going.
funny at first.
Yeah.
And then there's like 30-second sequence of him like just doing shit like
yeah,
that.
Exactly. Like
if you just get the editor to like trim out the back half of that bit, I think it would be funny.
I think that's pretty. It's pretty funny. Yeah, for sure. But
just like Chris Parnell is in it. He's like the barber, and again, the concept of it is kind of funny that like back in the day they just had like one guy to do everything. So he was like the barber,
whatever
and
ointment.
the doctor,
Just
and
drink
the dentist.
this and you'll be fine. Or
probably just like some miracle cocaine ointment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the concept of that is funny.
It is funny, yeah.
But the fact that there was a 5-minute gag that he used the same clump of it on one guy's balls, the donkey's ass, one guy's mouth, and then as shaving cream on one guy's face. Again, it's just too much. This movie kind of shoots itself in the foot with every good concept that it has.
Yeah, it's a little, just totally, and that's the unfortunate part. It's like they know that those sequences are probably the only funny things in the movie, so they just keep recycling it, hopefully, to put a bandage on the rest of the movie or something. I don't know. It's just like, man, you guys keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Just really suffered that way, but yeah.
Oh, and it's Steve Buscemi is the doctor, Doc Griffin.
And it's great. It's great cameo appearances. I mean, these are all like the comedians of Hollywood, and it's cool to see them all in like an ensemble, and that's
like
worked.
A country singer as the fastest hand in the West.
Yeah,
that's a pretty funny concept.
It's a great idea on paper, I'm sure, and I'm sure everyone really thought this was going to be a great idea, but just come time to shoot and film it, I think that's when everything went wrong or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
so pause of this movie. Some fun celebrity casting. There's like maybe 3 interesting parody concepts that they've just burned to the ground.
Yep.
And Vanilla Ice is in it.
Vanilla Ice as Mark Twain.
That'd be my positive reviews of this movie. Negative reviews is you will be put on a cancel watch list if you watch it.
Yes.
And also all these celebrities are canceled.
Yep, I'm pretty sure our podcast will be canceled just for talking about it. No, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean that's all I have on the Ridiculous Six. There's not much else to say about it. I'm not even gonna go into detail about like the plot or anything. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because the whole plot is just like a weird excuse to get to like the different shitty jokes.
Yeah.
Like the random like baseball scene with John Turturro.
That was so agonizing to sit through. Oof.
It's like a 10-minute sequence where they just stumble upon like some British guy in a field.
Oh, it's horrible.
With a bunch of like Chinese actors that he like hired, apparently like boated them over here to practice to like learn baseball in the movie, and you're like, what?
Yeah, that was just a
10-minute baseball scene.
But yeah, I would say if you're scrolling through Netflix, just skip this. Go watch Ballad of Buster Scruggs, or go watch Altered Carbon. Just anything else on Netflix. Just watch that.
Go watch Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Now that's like a good
If you want to see
Western
more
parody.
like No Country for Old Men type aspects on the West, that's a Coen Brothers series on Netflix. Yeah, go watch that. It's really interesting and intriguing. The way to go.
And I feel like the first, it's like a bunch of, it's like it's not a mini series, but it's like a series of like 5 or 6 like short films taking place in the Old West of all like varying themes and tones and stuff. But the first one about Buster Scruggs himself, like that is an absurdist Western parody that's actually funny.
And that was my favorite of all of it, because that's kind of what, that's kind of the whole thing on No Country and everything. It's just like, it goes through all the tropes of, of the good old spaghetti westerns, and it just talks on that. So that was probably my favorite of the series. And then you have a bunch of more realism, kind of people just caught up in nature and just is what it is kind of thing. But yeah,
that's the official recommendation from the boys. Yeah,
skip Ridiculous Six at whatever means necessary.
This isn't even like a so bad it's good movie. It's like a so bad it made me.
You're wondering why Adam Sandler is still working in like Uncut Gems and all that.
You're wondering how he got hired to do Uncut Gems.
Yeah, exactly.
Which wasn't Uncut Gems. Who directed Uncut Gems?
Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks for watching and tuning in, and leave a comment what you think about No Country, and if you've seen Ridiculous Six, go ahead and leave some comments below. Let's start a discussion, and definitely like this podcast, and subscribe to us, and we hope to see you next week for some more.
Yes, hope to see you next week. Tell your friends. 50 subscribers, first 50 subscribers, special prize. If we get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, we'll do a stream dressed as Farquaad.
Yes. Taryn totally just volunteered me for this and put me on the spot, but yes.
And that was agreed upon prior to recording.
Very, very agreed upon.
All right, thank you. Goodbye.
Waiver was definitely signed for that one. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for tuning in, folks. See you next time.
Howdy, y'all. This is Taryn, a.k.a. The Bad. Thank you for tuning in to our new program. As part of our big 3-episode launch, the boys wanted to put out some bounties to help build the gang a little. The first 50 lawmen to give us a 5-star iTunes Wanted review will be entered to win a gift card for any movie theater or streaming service of their choice. Secondly, the first Deadeye to guess how many times Star Wars is referenced in the first 3 episodes will win a physical copy of any film of their choice with special prizes from the boys inside. So be sure to check out our other 2 launch episodes and stay tuned on social media as we announce the winner. Links in the description. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't get dysentery. Now, everybody pretend that I rode off into the sunset. Bye now.
I know it's getting all gross and...
Is he fucking eating the cigar?
You just put off the filter end?
Was it?